How long does it take to produce one podcast episode? If you've been wondering that, you're in the right place. That is what I'm talking about today. So stick around to the end. I'm going to cover just that. Welcome to Magnetic Pod. If you are looking to attract your soul clients while doing the work you love, this show is for you. Hi, I'm Olivia D'Souza. I'm a podcast manager and content repurposing specialist. The Magnetic Pod Show is about attracting your soul pod of clients through podcasting. It will also include things that can be applied to other areas of your marketing strategy too. Hit subscribe to join me in calling in the people we are here to help. Let's make a massive impact.
I am here and I'm ready to be brave. Cannot miss me, I'll stand on every stage. I'm available for my destiny to reach my people.
So before we dive in, remember to hit the subscribe button so that you get all the tips and tricks to get more leads for your business and attract your soul clients doing the work you love. All right, so let's dive into this. How long does it take to record one episode? How long is a piece of string? My goodness, there are so many variables, and it depends when you're saying how long does it take to produce one episode? What are you including in that? There is so far and so many things you can do with a podcast, which is kind of why I love podcasts, that you can add so many steps to it, and it can be your main activity, or it can be something that you devote some time to and don't do every single option that you can do with a podcast. So first step is you have to allow for planning. So I would recommend planning in as many episodes in advance as you can so that you're not on the hop and not overwhelmed with the process once you commit to it. So say 20 episodes would be a great start to jot down some ideas. It's fine if it changes along the way because you have feedback from your audience about what they want, but that's a place to start. So start brainstorming some ideas. So you might do that in 10 minutes because you've got a heap of ideas already, or you might take a while to compile that list. So this is sort of getting outside the topic a little bit because the question was, how long does it take to produce one episode? Well, the truth is you're probably going to try and do it efficiently and not just do one episode when you're approaching this. So you've got to think about the initial research of how long it will take you to get all the ideas. So let's just say you've got the idea. The next step is, what kind of podcast are you making? Are you making a 5-minute podcast, a 10-minute podcast, a half an hour podcast, an hour podcast? Is it solo? Is it an interview style? Is it panel? If you want it to be as quick and easy as possible, I would say that solo is easiest because you're in control and you can get in and do it, and you can batch record and you don't have to wait and you don't have to negotiate with anybody and work out times and things like that. So you might take 10 minutes to plan an episode, or if it's something you need to research, you might take half an hour, depends. If preparation for the episode means interviewing someone who's written a book and you want to read the book, which really is a good thing to do, I have done that and it's made a big difference. And I've known what to draw out in the interview and what questions to ask because I've read the book. Well, that's a long time that it's going to take you, but you might factor in that you're learning and that you enjoy reading and that there's other benefits you're getting out of reading the book. So the preparation varies from 10 minutes to weeks and days and months, depending how much research you need to do, and contacting people and lining up times. So basically the quickest way would be if it's just you. So if we continue on thinking in terms of that, let's say you've taken 10 minutes to jot down your ideas. I have a handout, by the way, if you want to know how to plan an episode for a solo podcast. I have a downloadable of a template to give you a structure so that you can jot down some points and get it happening. So the recording time, basically you allow time for the recording. I like to do video because I like the extra options it gives me. It's probably quicker to do it purely audio, so really it's a personal decision. So even though I like video, do you. You do you. You might prefer to do audio so you can look at your notes and not have to look up at the camera. You might get it done quicker that way. You'll probably get quicker as you go. You'll probably the first time do different takes and go, oh my God, I hate that. And but, try to do it. Try to push through mistakes and just keep going, and you'll get faster and you'll get quicker. So recording it would take as long as the episode, plus how many takes you do of it, plus maybe a bit of setup either side. If you just have to plug in your microphone, if you're doing it with the camera, then it might take 10 minutes to set up. It might take you half an hour the first time when you don't know what you're doing. That's why batch recording is a really good idea, because then once you've got it set up, you just keep going. I do know of people who do their podcasts straight into their phone just as audio, so you could do it super simple if that's going to be easiest. If that's going to remove that obstacle from you about worrying about all of that, then do that and then scale up to something more fancy when you're ready. So basically that's the length of the podcast plus 10 minutes either side, but if you batch record, that reduces the either side factor. So editing is the most time-consuming part, really. Well, depending if you do lots of other social media snippets and things like that, that can be time-consuming too. But the editing if we're just talking about the podcast itself, the editing is the most time-consuming part. So ideally, I think it is good if you can outsource that. If that's not feasible for where you're at the moment, then you can learn to do basic editing, especially the beginnings and endings. I found that the most messy bits, where there's some false starts and messy ends, and you just do a bit of a tidy up there. But you can really, I think it is better if it's polished, but I think done is better than perfect. So how long the editing takes is kind of depending what kind of level of quality you want. And yeah, that's up to you. So you might decide done is better than perfect, and I'm just going to say something and not even put music or an intro, and I'm just going to speak and I'm going to leave it in there, warts and all, and just publish it. That's up to you. I like the idea that someone's going to enjoy listening to it better if it's a bit better presented. And also I've found that you can edit to make someone sound more confident by reducing repetition and reducing pauses. I think pauses are important. Pauses are natural, and pauses can be very dramatic and important to leave in there as well. But there's certain times when they're in there because of hesitation. And so I can really tidy up things like that to make people sound a lot more confident than maybe they really did. So it depends if you want to go to that level. It can take 3 times the length of the actual podcast, because you've got to listen to the whole thing and then edit it. So there's that, and then there's writing show notes. So if you have spoken it, you know what's in there, so you could jot down a few notes, and you could do that in maybe 10 minutes, but you can write a full-on blog post. You can use that opportunity to write a beautifully written blog that goes with your podcast for SEO benefits, and that might take you half an hour or an hour. So basically, I guess I would say that, for example, you do a 10-minute episode, you might take 10 minutes planning it, half an hour to record it, you might take an hour to edit it. Or if you're going to just go warts and all, you might take half an hour to edit it or less. And then you've got to write show notes, which might take you 10 minutes. And then you've got to upload it and publish it, which is the easier bit. You've got to have your links together for your show notes. So the more organised you are with having all your links that you like to use for your lead magnets and all of that, the better, so that you can reduce the time on finding those and putting them in the show notes. So that's it. I'm pretty much speaking to the typical person that I come across with the typical needs. If you are going to do like a radio style show or do like Joe Rogan level of editing, it's hours and hours. You think about storylines, you really make it as punchy as possible. It takes hours and hours. Okay, so it to say how long it does it take to produce one episode is a bit impossible to give one answer to. It depends on a lot of factors. So the quickest way to get it done is do it solo, or if it's an interview, leave in warts and all and just tidy up the beginning and ending and outsource, if you can, outsource. Because I do believe that that is the goal, even if you can't do it straight away. I do think that entrepreneurs should be focused on content creation and getting their message out there and thinking big picture. That's why I believe so much in what I do, because that's where I see a need. So, in answer to the question, how long does it take to do a podcast? Anywhere from 1 hour if it's a short podcast to many hours. The reason I think it's worth spending the time on it is because it's so repurposable and it can be used in so many different ways to promote your brand and to speak to a super, super targeted audience who are there because they want the information you have, and it doesn't get more targeted than that. All right, so as I said, I have in the show notes a template for how I plan a podcast episode. So if you'd like to get that, go in the show notes and you can download that, and that will help make the whole process a lot faster. If you have any questions, I have a form in the show notes called Ask Me Anything. So just fill that out and let me know if there's anything else you want to know. And I will see you in the next episode. Bye.
I am here and I'm ready to be brave. Cannot miss me, I'll stand on every stage. I'm available for my destiny to reach my people. Gonna be a star, so if you pass on me, that's a shame for you.
Hello, it's Livy here. Have you ever wondered about what the key elements are that make a podcast truly stand out? Or maybe you're thinking about starting your own special podcast and feel a bit overwhelmed and don't know where to start? Well, I have something for you. Introducing the Ultimate Podcast Checklist. Da, 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 da. It's a step-by-step guide that covers everything from the initial brainstorming to advanced growth strategies. It's the perfect companion for both new and seasoned podcasters. And the best part, it's absolutely free. Da, 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 da. To grab your copy, simply head to the show notes of this episode and you will find a direct link there, and then away you go. Remember, every podcast started with that initial spark and the right resource, so let the Ultimate Podcasting Checklist be yours.